Hello and welcome to the Everyday Depth podcast. I'm your host, Bear Kern, and in this episode, I speak with Vince Nerone of the Cleveland area. He's a music artist and a fellow podcast host. We talk about topics that involve anxiety, lifestyle, and tons of other things. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy. There's no answers provided, just honest, real conversation.
It's definitely what I think about is it's really saturated industry. That's what I think when I'm getting into this and put all your chips in it. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't. I'm going to try and do a similar thing, you know what I mean? But man, I just feel like everyone wants to be heard, and it's so hard to be heard amongst everybody else. But I mean, all you can do is grind, keep trying to, get more and more people to, the more people you have on, I guess you'd think that you're picking up their audience and vice versa. So, yeah.
The podcast thing started to be an interest very early, like middle school, before it was an oversaturated thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make a podcast with all my friends and start pursuing that. Never ended up doing it. I felt like my voice was too high. Like I wouldn't be taken seriously.
Right.
And now it's more or less not even for like to gain a popularity. No matter what I'm doing, I feel like this will always be a part of it just because of how it impacts people. Like I've had so many comments, so many people that I've talked to already that have been on episodes that have like it's affected them in a positive way.
Yeah.
And to me, like that's the whole point is just getting the vulnerable conversations out there without judgment and making that a normal thing again. Because it's really like everyone's so fake now in a way. It's like there's barriers built by everyone. There's guards that people have. Everyone can be so mean at times, and this is my way of like dropping that, bringing back realness.
Yeah, the next episode I have is about masks, because Smile Through Suffering, the album one of my album trilogy, is all about that. It's about how we bring our mask to the world, and people don't really want you to be either bringing your baggage and complaining and talking about how bad you have it, because that's annoying for them. But they also don't want you being braggadocious or proud or happy, because that makes them feel small. So instead, we bring this mask everywhere we go so that we can kind of bring this predictable baseline, that fits the societal makeup. And so Smile Through Suffering was basically talking about, if you listen to the lyrics in the song, everything is about, smile inside a window. You don't know my pain is just like you only get to see the snapshot that I bring you, but you don't know what's going on behind. You just see me through the window, but what's really happening underneath all of it. And then it's like tears fall in the rain. Like it's like to symbolize when it's raining outside. If you're crying in the rain, you can't tell I'm crying because there's rain. So it's like always like you're never really truly opening up, which is why I'm actually more of a vulnerable person. Than most, I would say. And something like you brought up too with this whole podcast thing and like changing people's lives, there's that aspect, but there's also like how we can grow as well. And doing a podcast or writing music both allow you to become more vulnerable, because you get reps in showing who you truly are to the world. And at first it can be scary. You probably have all these doubts. You have all these like, what are people going to think? At least for me, I did. But I've been doing music now for 12, 10 years, you know what I mean? Putting songs out, expressing myself. And then now it's kind of pivoted into same thing. It's more like structured though, with the podcast, as opposed to like music is more of an expression. It's kind of brought out of you, whereas the podcast is sort of reflecting back on it. And both of them are kind of similar. Both of them, you're bringing your ideas and you're letting the whole world see it. And it trains you through those reps to be more vulnerable. It also trains you the growth of communication, which I think is a huge skill. My favorite skill in the entire world is communication.
Yeah.
And being able to talk, because it branches throughout all these different mediums. It doesn't matter what it is. Oh, hi, kitty.
That's Moose. He's kind of a dickhead, but he's cool.
Aw. Hey, buddy. But yeah, so it goes across all these different mediums, and that's why it's like, yes, it's really hard to like blow up with this per se, but the skills inside the impact you can make, the individual lives you can touch through it, I would say make it worth it regardless.
I also, it's easier for me too to keep the mindset of there is so many unknown creators out there that are still making a living. They're not making those millions of dollars a year like you see from the main creators, but they're still making a livable wage to the point where they're able to do that and support themselves comfortably. And that's kind of what I would imagine that this would fall into, not necessarily something crazy that everyone's watching, but something that has a niche community behind it and could allow me to have that financial freedom in a way. Because I don't crave the money. It's more or less the freedom that comes from it. That's really my driver when it comes to pursuing this in a way to hopefully monetize in the future.
Yeah, you bring up 2 points I was just thinking of. So, what the podcast is now doesn't really matter because you're allowing yourself to have iteration after iteration after iteration. Every episode is just something to build off of. You're just building the launch pad. That's why I'm looking at it. Like if you ask the internet, the first 50 episodes, you're probably not going to have like any traction on average. But that's okay because you're building the library, you're building the reps of, not to keep on saying reps over and over again, but you're just building your personality, your image, your conversational skills, all these things in the first 50 episodes. And that's something that I would urge you and I urge myself all the time to remember, because it's really easy to get lost in hoping that this thing blows up for that financial freedom. But that's why I work construction, for example. Like, look, first of all, construction is one of those things as well. I call it keystone activities. It's something I talk about a lot, where you build micro skills in it a lot. And it gives you confidence because you understand how the world works, because you have to build it in construction a lot of times. But if I won the lottery, there's things I would continue doing, there's things I wouldn't. And that's construction. I'm not going to be an operator if I won the lottery. But, a lot of people are like, well, I just hope I win the lottery. It's okay, good. You won the lottery. Now what do you want to do? Because if you can figure out what you'd want to do after you have financial freedom, now you know your purpose, your why, and what really gives you meaning. So that's a cool, interesting thing I'd like to ask people. Like, if you did have financial freedom, won the lottery, would you still do the podcast? I'm assuming the answer would be yes, from what you just said. But what else maybe would you want?
For the driver for financial freedom for me would be getting my own piece of land, getting an RV, living in that RV while building my own house, creating like different like fucking plant sections. I for some reason
gardening.
Yeah, there we go.
Sick, yeah.
Yeah, I was blanking on that.
Yeah.
Having some farm animals and shit. Like
really?
having something where I can have my own plot of land. It's covered in nature. I can raise my kids there comfortably. They can learn skills like taking care of animals, planting, all of that shit. Like, that's my main driver, is wanting that own piece of land with being able to do whatever I want on that land.
Why? I think that's really cool, but why?
There's something to me about that separation, I guess, and I never really knew about it previous until I went on to a camping trip with some of my friends, October of 2024.
Separation from the world, you mean?
Yeah, we went to Allegheny, and we were like miles into the woods. There was no people around, no nothing. We had no data. We were there for a week, just like camping, making fires, drinking beer, smoking, all of that shit. And I remember I would think to myself very often throughout that trip that I don't need much more than this. Like, there's the community that I have. I mean, I'm sleeping in a tent. I don't care. It's like the being surrounded by nature and having that loving community around you.
I'm so sorry, my bad.
Completely.
I don't know, dude. I have a random alarm that just goes off at 6 o'clock every day, and I never turn it off. My fault. I'm sorry.
No, it's
Go
completely okay. That's that was also something that coming out of that trip, I wasn't able to go back to school. Like, I was already having issues with it. My mom, the summer before my senior year, she was hit by a drunk driver.
Oh.
And
is she all right?
Yeah, now she is. But
Okay.
she got life flighted, and she was in the hospital for 3 weeks. She had to go to a rehab facility after that. And then it was essentially just me at the house with her, taking care of her, and she couldn't walk till December of 2024.
Wait, so how long was this that she couldn't walk?
Her accident was at the end of June. I remember
So
I was
6 months of no walking.
Yeah, I was in the hospital with her uh on the 4th of July. So like we were in the hospital then. The night it happened, she was in Pennsylvania. So I was sitting there playing
Oh
video
my
games
God.
alone in my room, and then Nate called me, my older brother, and as soon as I picked up the phone, I just had like this weird feeling. I immediately said, "What happened to mom?" Like as soon as I picked up the phone. And then he told me we didn't even know if she was alive until we got to the hospital. So we're having to drive all the way to Pennsylvania, get to the hospital. I have no idea really what's going on. And yeah, essentially she was riding four-wheelers with a friend on like these dirt paths, and then a drunk driver just hit them head on. She got fully fucked up, was really like off of her feet for like 7 months. And
Holy shit. And you're telling me that like you answered the phone and you just asked, first thing you
yeah,
asked
yeah. It's like,
was
what happened to mom? Yeah. I don't even know. It was like a weird intuition. It was kind of normal for me to be home alone for like days or weeks, whatever it may be. I was just like, mom's out doing her own thing. I would do my own thing. It was very normal. So that's why I still don't really know why that's what I responded to the phone with. It was like, I just had this weird intuition.
That is bizarre, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
That's really
no
cool.
clue.
I mean, it's not cool, obviously, what happened, but it's
Yeah.
really cool that you had some sort of an intuition feeling. I always love like hearing stories like that. I never really get to hear them from somebody. You always hear them online, but I never get to hear them from somebody in person, like something like profound like that. Like, yeah, I just felt it, like my mom. But yeah, that's terrible. I'm glad she's doing better.
Yeah.
For one thing.
Yeah. So the start of my senior year.
But you were talking about the camping. I was asking about the
Yeah.
lottery thing. Was that where you're going to?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I started my senior year, and the year previous I had got put back into school because of the court system, because I was on an online school, and then I stopped doing the work. So they ended up expelling me, and I had 2 weeks to enroll into another school. Me and my mom were in Florida for these 2 weeks, and she was telling me she wouldn't do it, and I had to do it myself because I got expelled. Wasn't legally able to do that, so kind of got all fucked up with that. Got put into like the courts and all that.
Was your mom just kind of over it with all this shit at this point?
Yeah, she still wasn't down for me dropping out.
Yeah.
But she was pretty much like over my behavior.
Same with your dad, I imagine.
Yeah, and I also like around this time I still wasn't really talking to my dad very much. I mean, we'd connect every so often, but I'd keep it very base layer and not
How'd
really.
that feel?
It felt right for the longest time until recently. Like recently is when I've been trying to reignite that relationship out of just seeing like the changes that he's made and like coming into. At first, his religious beliefs I felt were very strict and not like, I don't know. I remember being like 5 years old at night, being up all awake all night, just like fearing that I was gonna burn in hell, like just like constantly. And that could stem from my OCD. Like I have a OCD, not when it comes to organization, but like thoughts and like over obsessing over intrusive thoughts.
I had that too.
And
that's interesting. You have a lot. You talk about a lot of things that like resonate with me so much. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw your one episode in talking about the anxiety, and I'm about to get into that with this story.
Yeah.
I started my senior year, and the courts were finally off my ass and everything, and I didn't even go my first day of my senior year. Like I was already out of it. I couldn't force myself to go, and it would be a thing where I would be in class, I'd be walking to my next class, I'd look at a door, and then I'd just walk out that shit and go home, like just out of nowhere. And I initially, it initially wasn't an issue, and then I started waking up every morning with like this pit in my stomach, like just feeling like something bad was gonna happen. And then with the OCD, I'd start over obsessing about that, and like I can't go to school, something bad's gonna happen. And then it turned into like throwing up. Like in the morning, I'd be so anxious, I'd just start throwing up.
Yeah.
And then I went on that trip, and coming back from that trip, after having that separation and figuring out that that's all I needed, I would try going to school, and I'd run into like the same issue. And I remember it was like the weirdest thing. My anxiety became something where in school, if I was sitting still, I would start over obsessing about the fact that I have to use the bathroom when I really didn't. So I would like sit there in class and just like freaking out thinking I'm like pissing myself when I wouldn't be. And that like caused a lot of anxiety. And then waking up every morning, it got to the point where waking up every single morning, I'd have that pit and start throwing up. I wouldn't be able to go to school. That happened for enough months. After the first quarter of my senior year, I had over 103 absences. I didn't go a day during my second quarter. They ended up taking me to court. I had to start seeing a psychiatrist and everything. And
did that help you?
No, not at all. I was supposed to do psychiatry and therapy, but I only ever got to the psychiatrist side of that.
Did they prescribe you anything?
Yeah, I was prescribed within my first like 3 weeks of taking medication. They upped it to like 115 milligrams of Zoloft.
Is that a lot?
Yeah, I would. It's a lot, and especially with only being on it for like 3 weeks.
Is that depression meds or OCD?
It's depression meds. It's like antidepressants.
Yeah.
Or SSRIs.
Yeah.
And
that didn't help.
Not at all. It helped for a bit, but by that point I still wasn't able to go to school, so I ended up dropping out.
Right.
And my mom was backing that. She was okay with it because I mean she would hear me every morning like running to the bathroom, throwing up. Right. And
so what ended up happening that helped?
Still deal with it sometimes. Honestly, it's the anxiety portion isn't as bad anymore, but when I do start over obsessing over a certain thought, it will be. Like for example, yesterday I was editing this video all day, and a big portion of the day I would had these weird butterflies in my stomach, and I just couldn't figure out the reason behind it. And there was a time where there was like a 4-month period where I didn't go a minute without having butterflies in my stomach. It was just constant anxiety for months. And it turned into panic attacks very quick. I remember one of my first panic attacks being with my girlfriend. We were freshly dating at the time. This was over a year ago now at this point. But we were in my bed and we were talking about something. And she even says, to this day, it's funny because she'll bring it up a lot, that she's never seen someone have panic attacks like I do. It's my body's fighting itself in a weird way. I'll start shaking and tensing up and just I don't know, I just become so out of it. And that happened when we were just having a normal conversation, just sitting in my bed, and it just happened out of nowhere.
Yeah, panic attacks are no joke. It's hard to really understand a panic attack because if you ever had one, you don't understand. It's so debilitating and overwhelming. You're just sitting there dude, when I was at Ohio State, and there was other times too, I'd have issues going to school. I finished school. I went to Ohio State, obviously, so I had to get my GED or whatever you call it, graduate. But anyway, yeah, I'd wake up in the morning, and for probably maybe 30 to a month and a half, 30 days to a month and a half straight, I'd wake up every single day anxious fuck. My mom had to come live out there for a bit and stay with me and then I would do this thing where I couldn't leave the house without my mom coming with me for a while during COVID times and stuff like that. Same sort of OCD thoughts, weird shit like that. It's just so bizarre and debilitating. But what I did was I just created more and more and more exposure therapy. I couldn't go to class. I'm fuck it, I'm going to class. It's anxiety. And I would sit there and I'd force myself through it because I knew that if I didn't, it was just going to be harder to do it again the next time. And I have a clip about that too recently you might have saw. But that's the thing that makes it so hard, is because it's so hard to stay when you're going through that anxiety. It's you want to just jump out of your skin. One time I had to drive home with a panic attack from Columbus. I needed to go home. I'm I can't be here by myself. My cousin lived with me at the time. We went to school together. But he didn't really understand anxiety. So I felt I really didn't have anybody who could relate with that type of thing. Not anything against him, but if you never, like I say, if you don't know, you don't know. And so I needed to get home to my parents, and dude, I'm freaking out, calling my dad. I'm you got to meet me halfway. I can't drive right now. It's just so, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to find the words for it. You know what I mean? To really describe it to somebody. But no, I could totally understand what you're saying. And I think the only way through it, at least in my experience, is just to keep increasing exposure as much as you can and set the bar to the point. Like I always talk about setting a bar that you're always going to hit because it creates momentum. But in the same way, you set the bar for exposure too, that 100% time you can hit. So you don't want to set like this high bar, like I'm going to go do the craziest thing ever with this anxiety. Like obviously then you're going to fail and now you just made negative momentum or negative exposure and it makes the problem worse. So instead it's like, what's the smallest step towards exposing to something that maybe feels a little bit scary, but I think I can overcome it, and start there and just keep taking steps in those directions. And next thing you know, like a month later, you're doing something that would have been completely off the table a month ago, but you can handle now. And that's the same way with this momentum thing I talk about. It's another thing, like when I talk about wanting to be a life coach one day, one thing I want to talk about is just like set your expectation bar deadly low to the point where it's not like you're not moving at all, you're stagnant, but you're just moving in the right direction, because that's exponential too. With momentum, you might be setting a small bar at first, and then the small bar you set tomorrow though is a little bit bigger of a gap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the momentum just builds. So all you got to worry about is make sure whatever step or goal you set, you're definitely going to hit it.
The most recent panic attack I had was on January 1st, and that was in relevance to like we went to the hospital to get my mom some food because she was with my grandma who was dealing with cancer.
Oh.
And she ended up moving in with us at like the start of summer and lived with us until around this time. And then my mom was at the hospital for like 5 days. Me and my two brothers went and were bringing her Taco Bell just to eat something. And my grandma ended up passing throughout the time that we were there.
Sorry, man.
And it was fine at first, and then we left the room, and like an hour later they had like showered her and like braided her hair and shit so we can go say our final goodbyes. And immediately like walking back into that room, I don't know exactly what it was, but my mom like went to go hug me, and then like instant panic attack again. I dropped my cup of coffee that I was holding and like fell onto the floor into the cup of coffee. My two brothers thought I was having a seizure. Like,
so you're panicking. You have a lot of physical.
Yeah. It's like, it's really like strictly physical, honestly. Like once it happens, my whole body shuts down. A lot of the times I don't even remember a lot of it. It's like very violent. Like I just.
Yeah, that's more than what I would have experienced.
Yeah. My brothers both thought I was having a seizure. My mom knew what it was just based off of like
being exposed to it.
Yeah, so then all the doctors had to come in there and deal with me.
Holy shit.
Dude, it was so embarrassing, and also
best
like
place for it to happen though, kind of.
Yeah.
Would they give you some like Xanax or some shit?
No, they just this lady came in and started talking to me, and like that wasn't what helped. What helped was like trying to calm myself down so I'm not embarrassing myself in front of all these people.
Yeah.
And then I was just still on edge for like the rest of the day.
What does help you?
Don't know. Like I still haven't really found anything. It's a trial and error process, especially because I don't know where they come from. Like I can not be anxious about something, or I could just be somewhere. Like for example, this has happened a couple times, but I was with my girlfriend, her mom, and this kid named Daniel, and we were just sitting there drinking, like playing this game, like this board game or whatever. And apparently from like my girlfriend's perspective, everything was fine, and then I just like zoned out. And then when I got brought back in, I like fell on the floor, violent panic attack again, just out of nowhere.
And so when you saw a psychiatrist, did you explain this to them too?
It didn't necessarily start, or like the panic attacks didn't start around that time, so not really. And I was very against the medication already, just because like it made me feel like very weird. Like I kind of felt like I was going crazy sometimes, or like.
Yeah. Well, SSRIs have a lot of different, depends on who you are, you can get different side effects and all sorts of shit, I heard. And sometimes it works amazing for people, but then what they do is there's like other medication that's similar to it. They could try that one. Next thing you know, that one really helps.
I did that. So I had them switch me off of Zoloft, and then they put me on this other one. I forget exactly what it was called because I only took it twice.
Okay.
And I both times I took it, I was in the Outer Banks on vacation.
Okay.
This was this past summer, and the night before I left for that vacation, I had found out that one of my really good friends, hadn't talked to him in like a couple years prior to this, but like grew up with him, OG Fortnite times, playing video games with him, skateboarding around. He shot himself, and so like going on to that vacation, it was already very hard to enjoy it, knowing I was gonna miss the funeral and all of that, and I started taking that medication at the start of that vacation. I took it like twice. And both times it was the weirdest experience. Like I don't even know how to explain it, but I felt like I was literally going insane. Like it was the most wild like process of emotions and the most wild thought processes in my head
Mm-hmm.
that I took it twice, and on the last day I was like, I'm done taking medication in general, and just cold turkey quit everything. And I haven't taken medication since then.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not trying to give you advice at all. But I also heard that for the first couple of weeks of going on something like that, it can cause. What the hell was that? Oh, a cat maybe. Yeah, it can cause thoughts like that. It can get worse before it gets better. I heard. And again, I'm not a doctor, but this is just because I know people, and I talk about anxiety a lot, and I have family members and stuff like that. We've had these conversations, and my dad's researched a lot of it for different reasons. But so I know that you might want to give these things a little bit more of a chance, possibly, especially if yours is like so physical like that, where it's like really, but like at the same time, like I also really believe in the non-medical approach because that's what I did. And what also might make you feel better is when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, that was the worst. Yeah, there was another time during COVID it got bad too for a bit, and I would have been 23 at the time. Is that right? 6 years ago? Yeah, 23 at the time. So but from 23 to 24, I would say from 24 to now, I've really conquered my anxiety a lot when it came to, I mean, like I've had to perform in front of people. One time I hit this blunt right before going on stage, and that's the only time I ever get anxiety anymore is like weed. I don't know, it's crazy. And I would go through a period where like 40% of the time if I smoke weed, I'm getting anxiety to the point where I'm almost having a panic attack. But I built so many coping mechanisms from dealing with so many panic attacks and anxiety that I was able to pretty much like calm it down and be like, oh, it'll wear off. It's just the weed. But anyway, so I'm literally 3 minutes from going on stage, and I'm like, let me just hit this weed one time. And I'm just fucking like, oh my God, why did I do that? I have to sing, I have to perform. And I just said, screw it. Like, I just do it, just fuck it. You know, my dad would always say, you just gotta say fuck it sometimes. And like, it never helps that advice when you're about to have anxiety or panic attack. You're like, shut up, dad, you don't understand. But it's true, like, there's really no other option sometimes. Yeah. You just gotta say fuck it. I'm about to go on stage. Like, there's nothing else I could do. And so I get up there and ended up being a great performance. I ended up like singing really good that night. You know, you start falling into it. And I think that's something to be said too with it all is it's always so hard to start, whether it's start editing. You probably notice like when you start editing, it's like, oh, I don't really feel like editing right now, but then you start getting into it and it's a lot easier. Or you have this anxiety and you're like, oh my God, you get on stage, you start singing and it kind of all eases out. The flow starts happening, you start to have fun. So, I mean, weird parallel there, but it is true that like it's always like just like the clip I had the other day, like you have to jump off the ledge and you have to just kind of get going, take action, and both for anxiety or working towards something in life, I think that is the cure-all.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot better in terms of like social anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Like now I can go into a store and everything like that. I'm going to that media night tomorrow to make some connections with people and plan on being social there. I don't know exactly where it stems from, but the panic attacks itself, I don't even think come from anxiety. I mean, it could come from being anxious for so long and not really doing anything with it, or just like maybe some PTSD things. I don't know. Just like the way it's described is I'm just like zoned out, like I'm staring at nothing, and then all of a sudden like I'm just freaking the fuck out.
So this just, I wonder, there's like my fiance now. I always say girlfriend because I just got engaged. It's just such a weird thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we've been together for like almost 9 years. And I call her my girlfriend for 8 years. Now all of a sudden, she's my fiance. So I mess that up all the time. But she's a therapist, and she talks about, there's some sort of, I always forget the name. I always want to say like EDM, like the dance music, but it's not that. But it's something like they almost like put you in some sort of a trance, because we have like apparently deep-rooted maybe trauma or subconscious things that we haven't dealt with, especially with some of the things you describe, with, obviously a heavy moment like your grandma, or a heavy moment like with what happened to your mom, like holy shit, or your friend, like, that just, those things happen to seem to come up in this conversation. I'm just speculating, obviously, but it's like, maybe a certain therapist who specializes, you have to look up the name of it, but maybe try something like that, and maybe they can pull these things out of you. I heard that's really effective for a lot of people. But again, also just growing up, dude, you're 18 years old. Like, it's crazy to think that it's been 10 years since, or not 11 years since I've been that age. I hate to be the old guy who's like, man, time flies, but like, you grow up so much. And honestly, if you just lock into your passion, the podcast, and just keep trying to, like you said, trial and error, figure it out, I really think that we all can get through it. And when I look back on my anxiety and my stuff, honestly, I'm happy I went through it, because I can relate to someone like you. I can relate to a lot of people. I think it made me have a more well-rounded personality, more relatable personality. People who have never experienced that before, like, good for them. But, I don't know. It helped me build perseverance and resilience, and I think those are important things. Going through uncomfortable situations is where all the growth is. Not that we should be forcing ourselves to be going through horrible suffering, but it seems to be a good thing in the end.
Yeah. And that's the approach I want to go at it with now, is after finding out the medication stuff didn't really work for me. And that could have also just been part of my mindset. Like, I don't want to have to rely on something or be dependent on something to be able to operate. I have been really looking into getting into like therapy and stuff like that. And I feel like that would be a lot better than the alternative, like pharmaceutical shit.
Well, I'll say both, I think, are valid to me. I know, I'm not going to name drop anybody because it's their business, but I know somebody on Zoloft right now, and it's done nothing but help them. They've been on it for years, and it really like helps them so much. I know other people who love therapy. I had a therapist for about a year. That was fine for me. It wasn't like life-changing or anything, but I was able to go in there and vent. I think the good thing about therapy is not only are you venting, but it's really what you make of therapy. If you can talk to somebody who's not emotionally connected to your situation and develop plans and talk about, those types of things, I think it can be really helpful, especially if you find a therapist who, like I said, has that, whatever the fuck it's called, that specific type of thing.
The EDM.
Yeah, the EDM shit, right? Yeah, but yeah, I find some, because that way you can maybe try that, and then but also just talk to them like a normal therapist as well. Yeah. Because people are certified in that, and they're just regular therapists. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely do that if that's something that, especially if it's something that's debilitating for you, or you're still dealing with it now. Because I know that shit sucked ass back when I was really dealing with it all the time.
What do you think started your anxiety? Or was that kind of something that was always around?
Well, so when I was, so actually, if I go way back, I had trouble wanting to go to the bathroom at school, like number 2. Unfortunately, that sounds so like childish. But yeah, so that was like the first experience I had. But obviously, I got over this. This was like maybe 6th grade. And then later, I didn't have anxiety anymore. Except maybe social anxiety, normal though. Like, that stuff felt pretty normal. First panic attack I had where it was like a big deal was I was 16 years old. I went to this girl's house for a party with a bunch of friends. And I had just started smoking weed. I had probably smoked weed twice before this. And you know how when you first smoke weed a couple times you don't get high, but you kind of think placebo effect that you did.
Yeah.
So I thought I was a pro already, you know what I mean? Because I had smoked with a couple friends, like a bowl behind my friend's house, and then me and my buddy Jordan smoked this joint. It was a sick night. You're brand new to weed, so you're smoking a joint, and it feels all like mystical, like, oh, hell yeah, drugs, like not that we're promoting drugs, but you understand, like as a kid, it's that new novelty of it. Smoked that. We're laughing like we're high. I wasn't. There's no way, because the next time I smoked, I had this bong downstairs. They were all passing this bong around. And if you have experience with weed, you know a bong hits hard.
Yeah.
I didn't have experience with weed, so I didn't know that. So I must hit the thing like 5 times. Full rips. I mean, I get a bong one time right now and be absolutely blasted. So imagine like the first time you ever get high, I was fucked and I was not ready for it. And so I just remember going, guys, I have to go home. Like I remember like I was freaking out. Like we got to get out of here. Where I'm like, I remember telling people I'm teleporting right now. Like I felt like time wasn't real. It was like having a panic attack, but you're also high at the same time. So it was just so fucked up. I'm 16 years old. I remember I went home and I had eaten. We had like fresh peaches that we picked off a tree, and I just ate. I laid on my bed, just eating peaches. It was fucked up, and that was like the first time I had a panic attack. And so what happened was, I don't know if I had panic attacks then, but later on, I had another panic attack, I think when I went to college for the first time now. And I started getting this thing where, oh shit, I don't like panic attacks. Obviously, they're horrible. And I'd be afraid of having one. I feel like a little, you get that little like shock wave of anxiety.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, I feel that. I know what that is. And then you start thinking about it, and then it gets worse and worse. And now you're in a panic attack.
Yeah.
And that was just this, I think it's called like agoraphobia. Is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And so I had that for a while. So that was my thing. I would just freaking be afraid of having a panic attack, and weed would always trigger it. And somehow like we do this thing where we have anticipation dopamine where we think it's going to be fun, because there was times in the past I smoked weed and it was fun. And there's plenty of times I did smoke weed since then that it was fun. But a lot of times it was the opposite. It would be horrible. But you always seem to be having this anticipation dopamine that reassures you that this time is going to be a good time. And so you keep on doing this cycle that's like half the time making you like psychoactive, like, what is it called? Psychopathy?
I think so.
Yeah, where you're basically like going crazy. You think you're going insane. And it's like I'm literally making myself going crazy once, twice, 3 times a week for this hope that it's going to be a fun time instead of not a fun time. And so I struggled with that for a while, up until even recently. And finally I was like, dude, this is crazy. I'm done. Like, I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And, I'm not saying I'm never going to ever smoke weed again, but for right now, I don't want anything to do with it, because it just seems like it's just pulling from me and making me crazy to some extent with these panic things. But yeah, that's kind of where it started from. And then I had like OCD thoughts during COVID. I was just going down this road of just, I don't know, I would just think badly about myself. I would think I was a bad person. Yeah, I don't really want to get too into like some of the thoughts, because they were just kind of shitty thoughts, you know what I mean? And I got over that just by the OCD thing. To get over that to me was just like telling myself I love myself, affirmations and stuff like that, forcing myself to realize like I'm not my thoughts, listening to a lot of people on the internet about those types of rumination things. And finally, I just broke the matrix or whatever. I broke the loop.
It's funny that you said that, I am not my thoughts, because that's something I advertise a lot. Mm-hmm. I think I've mentioned it in every single episode I've done so far, is like separating myself from my thoughts, and like that's not me, it's something I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
And that's really helped me a lot. And with the OCD, what's helped me, I mean, it's still something I deal with all the time, like leaving my house. If I open up the door the wrong way, it's like, oh shit, I'm going to die in an accident. Or
see, I don't have that.
Yeah.
That's interesting, but yeah, go ahead.
Like if my cat is being like I was dealing with this yesterday. My cat was like around me all day, and I was like, damn, I'm going to die when I fall asleep tonight. It's like the craziest shit.
That's interesting.
And something that's helped me with that is just like doing it anyways. Like, okay,
yeah. So
what if I do?
Yeah.
And then just like pushing forward with that.
Right.
And with the anxiety thing and the weed, because I kind of dealt with the same thing for a while, or when I especially first started smoking. Like my first time smoking, I was probably like 11 years old. And I I was sledding at this hill. This random kid asked if we wanted to go to his house and smoke.
How old was this kid?
I think he was a year younger than me.
Holy shit, dude. You
Yeah, dude. He was young,
That's
bro.
crazy, bro. Yeah, all right, go ahead.
So me and all my friends go to his house. And like you said, like, you don't really get high the first time. So I just sat there and kept packing the bowl, smoked like 5 or 6 fully packed bowls. And then all I remember is like laying back and closing my eyes and then like time skipping, opening my eyes up, and I'm just high as fuck. Like everything looked like it was VR, kind of like panic attack kind of shit. The
Yeah.
kid whose weed we smoked was like being fucking all wild and shit and like all up and like crazy. Like, and this other kid was like following him around, and I was just sitting there freaking out.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, my mom texted me like, it's time to come home.
Oh.
I was like, oh shit.
11 years old is crazy, bro.
I walk in my fucking door, and my mom and my brother are just standing there staring at me. And I look at them, and I'm like, I don't feel good. And then I run to the bathroom, like just trying to play it off. Like I'm like not high or something. After I leave the bathroom, I just lay in my bed, and I'm trying to go to sleep. And I remember my mom coming in there. She's like, are you sure no one gave you anything? And I'm like, Mom, I promise. Like I wouldn't, like, no, I didn't. No one gave me anything. I'm just high as shit. And then I ended up falling asleep. It was fine. And then from that time forward, up until I was about 16, I would smoke. Like I didn't like smoking whatsoever. I'd always start panicking. I didn't have really a good experience with it. But the people I'd surround myself with, there was always something that they were doing and were trying to like push on to me. So then I would like get to the point where I'd be like, okay, I'll take one hit, and then I'll be able to be fine with that.
Yeah.
But then they're like shoving it in your face, like no, you have to smoke more. And then it would always just result in me like having a full like green out, like sitting there feeling sick as shit, like just tweaking out in my head, not able to fall asleep. And around this time was when I was drinking all the time. Like this was when drinking was.
You were a badass kid, bro. That's crazy, dude. Okay, go ahead.
I drank a lot from the age of 11 till around 15, 16. And I was in my room all by myself, and I was like very overstimulated and like overwhelmed with everything that had just happened. I had a 12-pack of hard Mountain Dews. I drank that. I had a 12-pack of Twisted Teas.
No wonder,
I drank that.
Dude, your freaking stomach was fucked up. That is crazy. You must have felt like shit these next days, dude.
Oh, dude, it was whack. I had like a Fireball, like one of the ones that are like this size.
This is probably something that contributes to the anxiety too, right?
I like this experience definitely it made me not trust anyone for a long time. Like for like a 3-year.
Well, you're combining like a lot of traumatic stories with a lot of substance stuff with long periods of time at a young age. I mean, who wouldn't be having a hard time with that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like, so it's not like surprising, that's where you're at. But I mean, the fact that you're honestly doing as good as you are is pretty great. I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's pretty much all I'd say about that. It's like, I mean, that's pretty wild. I mean, that's more than I've heard anybody, stuff from you're 18 years old. You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, talk about living a lot.
Yeah, I drank like half of one of those Fireballs that are like this big too.
How did you not die?
When I woke up in the morning, I was on my floor, butt ass naked, and there was like blood profusely coming out of my head. Like I guess like I must have passed out and hit my head or something. The blood wasn't still coming out, but there was a decent amount of blood like around my head, and I felt like shit.
Gang.
And then from that day, I was like, that's when I was like, I can't drink anymore, and I stopped.
So this was the night that shit happened.
Yeah, this was like the night I came home from all of that, and then I stopped drinking for like 3 or 4 months. I didn't touch it at all, and that's when I started having trouble sleeping. And I met one of my good friends now that I know, and he introduced me to weed in a different way than the people who previously did it. And then I started smoking weed every night. Directly after quitting drinking, I started smoking weed every night.
Mm-hmm.
And then that turned into an everyday, all day habit for like from the age of 16 to like up until this past month. I was smoking every single day, all day, just fried all the time.
So what made you slow down?
With weed, I it was actually funny. I got this new like cart, and I was already dealing with a lot of anxiety, like very bad, and it was to the point where I was like, it was like physical all the time. Like I would be sitting there trying to edit a video on my desk, and like my whole body would be tensing up. I'd fall out of my chair, and it wasn't necessarily like panic attacks. It was like my girlfriend explains it as like my body was like fighting itself in a weird way, and I initially was like talking to her one morning, just very anxious, and she said, "Maybe it's the new cart you got." I knew it wasn't, but then that put that in my head, like weed's making me feel like this. So then I started smoking. Then whenever I'd smoke weed, it would be very bad and like a negative experience, kind of back to how it was previously when I first started for the first couple years.
How does nicotine make you feel?
It's like nothing. Like I don't know. I would like to quit it, just kind of basically because it doesn't do anything, but that's one of the hardest ones to quit for sure.
Yeah, no one can ever relate to me with this, but nicotine makes me. I've developed a lot of really clean contrast from these things because, like for nicotine, for example, I think I hit a vape one time today, but that's how I am. I quit cold turkey for 31 days dead sober from December to January this year, which was the first time I've been dead sober in a long time. Everything, nicotine, alcohol, weed. And what that did was it allowed me to feel the contrast so much from each one of these things. And so ever since then, I've really slowed down quite a bit on every front, whether it was alcohol, weed, or nicotine. But nicotine, dude, if I hit a vape right now, well, when I'm with somebody, it's a little different. It's crazy because these things, they differ. But like I'll be at work, for example, maybe I'll take a Zyn. Instantly, the filter of my perception turns negative. I'll be pumped about a podcast clip. I'll be pumped about editing something when I get home. I'll be feeling good about everything. I'm on a roll. I got this momentum built up. What a good day rolling jiu-jitsu yesterday. I'm doing good in my job, blah, blah, blah. Take us in. Everything comes negative. Oh, this is never going to work for me. You know, all these thoughts rush in of feeling like I'm not good enough. It's super weird. And no one understands that thing. And so I talk to ChatGPT about these things sometimes too. And I'm like, what is that? And I guess it's like, you know, all these substances affect people differently, but I'm like super high reflection, high awareness, high drive. And for people like me who's already running at like such a high rate, when you add the stimulant, it's possible that turns into self-critical thinking and rumination thoughts and things like this. So I just noticed that if I'm sober, I don't have anxiety anymore. It's gone.
How was quitting nicotine for you?
Well, it sucks at first. So the worst thing about being sober for 31 days was the boredom. You're trying to like, you know, when you're used to always having weed, nicotine, or alcohol, or all three, you're constantly filling the space. Same with phones. They're all doing the exact same thing, which is filling this empty space. Like back in the day, you know, you ever hear of Dr. K?
I don't think so.
Look up Dr. K. He's great. But he talks about like back in the day when we were hunters and gatherers, there'd be 3 hours walking back from killing the deer to your camping trip where there's nothing to do really. You're just walking. You talk to your buddy the whole time. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I've been talking to you for the last 3 hours while we're hunting. So you maybe have like a 3-hour walk home where you're not doing anything but just maybe dragging a deer with your boy and just thinking. We don't have that empty space anymore. Now we're TikTok or hit the vape, hit the weed, change the, I wasn't addicted to these things. I'm addicted to, what's it called? The change, it starts with an S. State change, it's called. Yeah, it's state change. So you get bored when you play video games?
Somewhat, yeah.
You know how when you smoke weed, you feel more immersed?
Yeah.
You feel like the game's a lot more fun or music sounds a little bit more better. Well, that is true, but it's only maybe from 90% to 100%. But that change is enough, and it's a state change. You get bored with feeling, especially when you've been doing it for so long. You want that state change. You become addicted to that. And when you cut everything out, you just feel like antsy, like I want to do something to change it. So I'd start drinking tea. I was drinking Coke Zero. I was doing all these things that don't really scratch the itch because there's like a reset period where you're trying to retrain your brain to be without these things. So 90 days is apparently like the golden area where like you can really start to make it. Make that change and really become this new person in a way that allows you to reset. That's what they say. I mean, it could be shorter, it could be longer. So I made it 31 days because I told myself, I'm not drinking. I'm going to make it through Christmas. I'm going to make it through New Year's. I made it all the way through all those. January 1st, the day after my New Year's Eve party, I was like, you know what? I made it this far. I can have a beer or two. And I had a beer or two, and I ended up smoking a bowl, and I ended up hitting my girlfriend or my fiance's vape. I just went right back down this path of trying to quit again. Now finally I'm back to no weed for like the last almost month, getting there. And I'm trying to be sober again to the point where my ideal would be socially drinking. Like I don't want to just be drinking in the weekdays. I'd like to be able to go out like me and you, or well, you're 18, so you're not allowed to drink, but me and somebody of age could go somewhere and, you know, have some beers or whatever. Or, you know, on a weekday it could be, just not in my house. Or go to a party or New Year's or a celebration and drink. I would like to do that. And for nicotine, I really think I'm just addicted to it, but I would be better off without it. And weed, if I'm at, like, we have this place we call the Island, like on the water, maybe with some people smoking some weed there. Or if I'm at a camping trip, smoking some weed there, that would be ideal. But the problem is, I don't know if I could do that without just resetting again and falling right back into the same shit again. So to me, I don't want to be somebody who has to be sober because that sounds so boring and lame and like, it's just not, I don't want to be that guy. It just doesn't fit who I feel like I am. But I don't know if I could just be the dude who, but I'm growing towards it now. I mean, you know, I have been doing a lot better with moderation, and maybe it's just one of those things you keep on failing and jumping back and forth, and eventually you get there.
Yeah, I had that same issue with the weed. After I started reacting negatively to it, I stopped for like over a week. It wasn't quite 2 weeks, but I stopped for like a week, and then I was playing video games with my friends, and I still had the weed. So I was like, should I hit my cart right now, boys? You know?
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yep.
And then I started doing it again, and it was like, I'd do it at night. I'd wake up and I like, well, one, I would do it at night, and when I was talking to people or whatever, it was perfectly fine. But as soon as I'd be back in my bed trying to sleep, I would have like a rumination of thoughts that were negative or like would kind of bring me to that panic point. But I was able to calm myself down with like, it's just the weed, you know, kind of like how you explained. And then I realized not too long ago, I realized last week actually that I had gone like 3 or 4 weeks, like a full-on month almost, of just smoking every day again. Like every single night I was getting high. And then starting like Thursday of last week, or the Friday of last week, I had my girlfriend over and I was like, I'm not going to smoke weed tonight. And then that carried into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Last night was my first night smoking since then. But my problem comes from the dependency I feel like I have for certain things, whether it be nicotine, weed, or alcohol at one point. And that's what I don't want anymore, is I don't want the dependency. I don't want to have to do or feel like I have to do something every single day. So it's not the substance in itself that's the issue for me. It's more or less like the lack of self-control that I will have. And that's why I've been trying to discipline myself better with that.
I think integrity and self-trust comes into that a lot. One of my biggest problems, it's not even that, sometimes being addicted to the substances and trying to, you know, the chemical effect of what they do to me isn't even as bad as telling myself I'm not going to smoke or drink today, and then later that day I do it. And that self-trust of like, damn, like I can't even stick to my word. Like I literally 12 hours ago said that I'm done today, and now here I am. Like you really couldn't even make it 24 hours. And that just erodes at me. And that's the thing that I really want to fix the most. And I've been working towards and building that. So that's the main thing with substances. But there was a point I was going to have. I forgot what it was. I think as far as the podcast thing that you're trying to do, this thing we're both trying to do, really, I think if you locked in, and I mean this is a big jump here, but this is kind of where I'm trying to go. The more I can lock in away from, I feel like substances is such a scientific word or some shit, but it's the best way to add them all together. But the more you can get away from substances, I think you'll see a direct correlation with how well you work in your podcast, how well you bring yourself to conversations in your podcast. And that's what I'm trying to use as a motivator for me to help push me away from these things, try and dump all that. Like we started the conversation with really both gaining energy from the podcast and also putting the energy that I have left over from the substances into the podcast and just creating this motivating, powerful loop that just allows us to grind, but grind in a way that's alignment. Like I think grind is also, I always do this tangent shit, but grinding seems like it's forceful. I think when you're really aligned with something, which is something also with the identity work that we talk about a lot is alignment. When you're really aligned with something, it should just feel natural, like it's giving you energy. You can really tell things that are aligned with you by how they make you feel. If it's something that empowers you, feels like it's giving you energy, you know you're aligned. If it's something that feels like it's taking away from you and it feels like a drag, you know it's not aligned. And the more you can point towards the things that give you energy and point away from the things that don't, the better your life is going to start falling into place. And you're going to notice holy shit, it feels like almost fate, but really it's just the world working with you because you're finally aligning with who you're supposed to be, and not in some fancy spiritual way, but in the sense that we all have interests, but society and parents and whatever have kind of blurred those lines and made it not very clear. And it's up to us to clear the noise, to find that clarity again and redirect the boat.
Yeah. That's something that I've kind of looked back on a lot and wanted to fall back into is previous to all the social media shit, being like a kid, getting home from school and having that boredom and then doing something with it, going outside and skateboarding or making little YouTube videos and whatever it may be that wasn't just, all right, I'm bored now, I'm going to partake in a substance and then still be bored, but be high or be drunk or scroll on my phone. It's wanting to disconnect from being such a consumer of social media, whether it be Instagram Reels, TikToks, YouTube Shorts, whatever it may be. Not to talk down on those things because I do feel like they have good qualities. Mm-hmm. It's the addiction that comes with it and the constant dopamine of scrolling. Then you realize that your brain's just been shut off for majority of that time. You can't remember a TikTok that you watched yesterday. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, finding balance is a key thing too. Yeah, like what you're talking about. It's okay to be a consumer to some extent. We find good ideas from each other, from consuming each other's content, but at some point you need to be producing. Yeah. At the same time.
Breaching into the producing, I would also like to talk about your music and where you started with that. What made you get your start in an interest in music, and when did you start pursuing that?
I was just driving, about to go on vacation with my buddy, and he was writing a rap song. Someone that doesn't write rap songs either, is just random high school friend. I think I was maybe 16, and it looked fun. I started writing a rap, and I just have a really good natural talent for writing, and I found it that day. And I know it was something that was really meant for me because I got nothing but flack for it. I got nothing but people making fun of me. I remember they made a fuck boys account. They were back when Twitter was a thing. There was Mayfield fuck boys, and they'd make fun of somebody. I remember this one dude who's 7 feet tall. He's yeah, this dude's 7 feet tall, can't dunk. Vince Nerone needs to stop making music, blah, 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 blah. And it didn't stop me because I genuinely loved it. And it wasn't something that I was getting a bunch of girls or there was benefits to it. It's just I genuinely loved to have friends over. We'd freestyle. we'd make songs. I'd collaborate with all sorts of people, including, you know, like you mentioned, Cap. And I met tons of friends through it. And I just really enjoyed how music could pull things out of me. And the lyrics would just come together so naturally. And I mean, in the beginning, of course, you write some corny, stupid shit. But for the most part, I always had sort of a decent flow, a decent style, a really good writing ability. And that kind of transitioned into multiple albums. I wrote Genuine Article, Morning's Calling, Dark Days, Life How I Wrote It. Those were the 4 rap albums. One of them was an EP. And then I met Jacqueline and Jake Schiffman, who are my managers still to this day. We were going to do live shows, and they thought I should start a band. So that's when I built the whole band, met Dibby, met all the guys, and we went to make the 3 trilogy albums, Smile Through Suffering, Hurts More Thinking About It, and Smell the Roses. Started performing for the last 4 years, performed for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Jacobs Pavilion, every venue you could think of in Cleveland, pretty much, aside from maybe like the House of Blues. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a short summary of the whole journey, but yeah, I just really had a love for making music, and I just kept going with it. Same thing, like maybe how you feel with podcasts, but it's just something I did genuinely for fun. I wasn't somebody who played a lot of video games at the time. I actually play more video games now than at that time. It was just what I did for fun. I'd meet up with people, would smoke weed, and we write music.
Yeah, I kind of had that same relationship with my old friend that I was explaining earlier that did all the fuck shit. Like, we were very driven with our dreams and had the same dreams, whether it was directing, YouTube, music, whatever the case may be. That was something that we were pursuing. And music was a big thing for me too for a while. Like, growing up with my grandpa being in a band, going to his house for holidays.
Oh, sweet.
The whole upstairs having guitars and drums.
Do you play music?
I play guitar.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
That's sweet.
I don't put anything really out there.
Are you nice?
No, not really. I mean, like, I do more acoustic shit, nothing like that. And when it comes to like learning stuff, I like making my own stuff a lot more. It's easier for me to get into it.
Sweet.
So I have a couple like different riffs here and there that I've made or came up with.
Yeah.
I severed the nerve in my middle finger.
Of course you did.
In like the day before Thanksgiving. So I just got the wrapping off of that like a month ago, and I've been able to start playing again and shit.
So how much time have you spent playing guitar?
I started when I was in 9th grade, I want to say. I mean, before that, I would always just sit there and just fuck around and like try to make it sound well. And then I started taking lessons in 9th grade, and I did lessons for like 4 or 5 months, learned my scales, learned like Yesterday by the Beatles, La Bamba, shit like that. And then I was like, I really don't like these songs that he's having me learn. So I left that. And
that seems to be a common complaint.
Yeah.
With people who go take guitar lessons.
Well, my guy was like very old, and any single song, he'd be like, what song do you want to learn? And I'll tell him, he'd be like, I don't know what that is. Like, even songs from the 80s, you'd be like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, what are you
look it
about?
up, dude. I'm paying you.
Yeah, like shit, man. And and then I've learned like a couple songs just from YouTube videos, like What Are You So Afraid Of by X, Star Shopping, shit like that. And it's my love for it really comes from coming up with my own stuff and making my own stuff. And in terms of like singing and everything, it used to be something I'd do a lot more often. Like, I remember 5th grade, I made a YouTube video doing a little title of Riptide by Vance Joy.
Sick.
And it got like 30,000 likes. It was popping for a second.
Damn.
But then
so you got some vocals too.
During indoor recess, someone played that shit on like the.
They embarrassed you?
Oh, I hid underneath the teacher's desk, started crying, deleted it as soon as I got home.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
No, your haters got to be your motivator.
I know. It was fucked. I still regret deleting that shit to this day because it's like it was popping. It was doing well.
Shit, dude.
Yeah, I've wanted to start getting more into music again, but there's so many creative things that I want to do with this podcast. I still want to direct a movie at some point. Mm-hmm. I want to make music. I want to write a book at some point. I do a lot of writing as well, whether it be poetry or whatever. everything that I want to do has stuff to do with creativity.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff takes a lot of time, and you have to put your all into all of it. So it's kind of hard to like put my all into so many different things, because then I feel like I'm like shorting myself or shorting some of those things, because I can't put my all into something if I'm putting it into something else already.
Yeah, you're spreading yourself thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading a book actually. It's funny. It's called Essentialism. And actually my first episode of my podcast was called Do Less, Win More. Or I don't know if that's what I titled it, but that was like one of the thumbnail things, because it's all about that. It's about decluttering, stop having so many open loops, stop making so many commitments, because that's what we're doing. We're spreading ourselves thinner. It reminds me of people who are just hobbyists in music would hit me up and be like, oh, we got to make a song, bro. You're so tough. And it's like, I appreciate it, but no.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm trying to do this. You're just trying to do this, for fun. You don't understand. Like, we can't, it's not just you come over my house and we make a song and that's it. It's like, no, we come over, we make a song. I got to make sure it's mixed and mastered good. You probably want to follow it up with some content if you want it to be even seen at all. You probably want to type out the lyrics, put them on DistroKid. Make sure you have a DistroKid account. Make sure he has a DistroKid account. There's just so much bullshit. And maybe make a music video if you want to do it right. Yeah. Otherwise, you just wasted my time. I could be making my own song that I'm actually going to care about, that I'm actually going to back. And people just don't get that, and you don't want to be rude. So a lot of times, be like, oh, man, I'm really busy. Maybe another time. And then I just never hit him back. Not to be rude, but it's just like. But honestly, the right thing to do in that moment would probably be like, well, I don't know. I was gonna say maybe just tell him like, no, man, like this is serious. Yeah. Maybe what I did was the right thing, because you don't want to have a problem with somebody or burn a bridge by like making them feel bad. Yeah. So it's like a weird line there. But exactly what you're saying, like, just stick to the podcast right now. Just pour your heart into that. Like you said, for a year, it was a great plan. Like you said, like, I'm just going to go full blast into this podcast for the next hour. Not next hour, next year. The next hour. No, but yeah, for the next year, and just see where it goes. And just don't, because I'm guilty of that. I have like 7 things going on at once. Jiu-jitsu, I work out, I'm in a band, I'm trying to do a podcast, I have my regular job, I have my fiance, I'm planning a wedding. You know what I mean? The list goes on and on. I have a family and relationships I'm trying to juggle at the same time, who like want my time. And you end up I want to play video games and hang out with my buddies, and you're just like, it's just not possible.
Yeah. And
now everything's lacking, because I want to be, that's why I'm actually happy in a way that the band ended, because it was sort of, people seemed like they wanted their own things. Like, already kind of, they started a new band, so I'm right by saying it, is like it started to feel like the brotherhood, the culture we were building, the common drive towards building something bigger than ourselves was starting to sort of go in different directions. Dibby's in Lake Erie, and Dibby was working with other artists, which I don't give a shit. Like, people can do whatever they want. They're not beholden to me or whatever. But it's really hard when people are diversifying across multiple projects. It's hard enough to be seen when everyone's focusing on the one common project, let alone when everyone's focusing on multiple different things. And you think you're diversifying, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket, but I don't think it works like that for music. I think you got to really go for it if you want to make it, and even then you might not make it. And it just seemed like it was just too spread all over the place with the guys, and it kind of fell out at the end there. And I think maybe it was a good thing in the end, because I work better maybe alone in a way, being able to fully focus on this podcast myself, nobody else. Do I have to feel like I need to? Because I felt like when you're building a band, you want to make it so that they feel like they have ownership too, in a sense. Underneath, it's like they have their goals and aspirations within your goal and aspirations, because otherwise they feel like, what am I doing this for? And that's pretty exhausting to try and juggle all the time. And this is like an easier lane to me, because it's like whatever I put in, I specifically get out. Whereas like before, it's like whatever I put in, I also have to maybe hope that they're putting in an equal amount, because it's not really fair if everyone's getting the equal amount, but I'm putting in maybe a little bit more, and maybe they don't know if they should put in more because maybe they feel like they're stepping on my toes. And there's just like all these dynamics.
Yeah.
You know, when you're working with a 5-man band and plus management, I'm one producer, and like, not that it ever got like bad with those people or anybody. It was a good 4 years. And yeah, I mean, it was a good 4 years. We had a lot of great experiences, and honestly, the way it ended sucked. And I did feel like I was hurt by the way it ended, to be honest, because it was kind of like I got ghosted and then they started to ban behind my back in a way. I don't blame them for starting a new project without me. I just blame them for maybe ghosting me and leaving it the way they did after we meet up once or twice a week for 4 years straight, you know, and I felt like I would make them food in the beginning. Like every practice, I'd make taco night. We do beef stew, matzo ball soup. I do meatball subs and shit. And like I try to build a culture and have a family aspect with these guys. You know, have them over, like I said, once or twice a week, and we like clockwork, bang, bang, Thursdays especially. And then to just something happens, which I don't really want to get into because it, you know, throws somebody else under the bus, but something happens, everyone just sort of abandons shit, goes ghost, and it's over. And you're like, damn, that was fucking weird.
Yeah.
And so whatever, I'm moving forward. I'm looking towards growth in the future, but it does feel a little bit weird how like I had this 4 years of everything was about like building this band and with these group of guys, and now it's just like gone, boom, vanished, crazy.
Yeah. I've had similar experiences with that, not in terms of like bands, but friend groups and like just being with people for so long, and like these are your people for so long, and then just something happens and it's gone. Mm-hmm. And then it's like you don't really have that connection anymore or whatever it may be. And with the music, not to branch out again, but with the music, I was able to see firsthand how much of a hustle it is, and like you really do have to put your all into it. I lived with Cap for like a year or two.
Really?
my mom was dating his dad. So
oh shit.
Yeah, we moved in when I was like a little ass kid. I was sitting there with having like Fitz, Clock, fucking Doug over all the fucking time and shit. He actually showed me how to write raps. That's how I learned how to write music, is from him, just going upstairs in his room as a little kid, and like he was already sitting there at his desk, like he had pages all over of these raps written. He was writing another one. I was like, can you show me how? And then the motherfucker had me sit down on his bed, got me out a note, and like showed me how to structure everything and everything. It was sick.
Yeah.
It was dope. Yeah.
Good for Cap, man. Yeah, Cap's always been just a genuinely like really good dude, good friend. We had a lot of anxiety conversations because he struggled with anxiety too a lot, and he'd talk to me about those types of things. I feel like I'm pretty good at relating to people with that and talking with people with that and helping them. Like if he was ever like anxious when we were out, he'd bring it up to me and I'd help him try and, you know, a lot of people call me, you know, my sister, my fiance, different people who struggle. It seems like I tend to be the one that they call because I don't know. I just feel like, anyway, but yeah, Cap though, he just was always a really good friend to me. You know, same with the music and everything, brought me onto his shows for the first times. You know, that was like a lot of the first shows I ever did was just like opening up, like open-minded with Magic. We did like a long time ago. Like I remember he brought me onto one of his bigger shows at the Grog Shop. That was like a huge thing for me. I'm like, holy shit, I'm performing. You know, come to do like 80 shows later now, it's like, oh wow. But it was always super open to bringing you on and putting you on and just being a good guy, a good friend. So shout out to young Cap for sure.
You know, he's great. Even after my mom and his dad broke up, we've like maintained contact and everything. Yeah. I remember one time I was walking down the street at my house on Summit, and then he randomly pulls up in his car and he's like, "Yo, Ryan, like what's up?" Like, and this was after we haven't seen or talked to each other for a couple years. And then after I got on like social media and everything, we've connected and talked and everything. That's how I figured out about the media night tomorrow. Are you going to that?
Well, you know, it's about the whole like no commitments thing. Like, I think there could be a lot of good going to that, but I got this podcast I got to edit tomorrow. I'm trying to really lock in and do that. And I'm on the same wave, like what you're talking about. I'm just really trying to just focus on content, and there's just so much. Like I got not only I just put out a video episode yesterday. I'm working on this episode. I got another dude coming over next Saturday. I'm trying to think of the next episode following that, just so it's streamlined. It's creating a system. It's not just like this thing that I'm randomly doing. I'm trying to have a clip every other day, because that's how you start to build. You want that consistency, both for reps and for the algorithm. I don't know if you saw that video I put out the other day about how it's not about the algorithm for consistency. It's more about that growth that comes from consistency and just more reps. The more you do, the better you become at it, the better your content gets, yada yada. And it's not that I was thinking about maybe going to that, and maybe I'll change my mind, but a lot of me just wants to come home, hit the gym real quick after work, go home and just dive into that podcast and get some headway. So that Saturday morning, I'm going to wake up at like 5 a.m. Same thing, and get that done. Because I just noticed that the more I could check things off, the more my brain just feels so free and life just feels so much better for me. The more I can get ahead of it.
Yeah. My intent for going is make connections, possibly find some more people to shoot some more episodes with. And as well as that, just kind of forcing myself in one of those social environments, not being reliant on a substance and just meeting new people. And I've also had the issue recently where
excuse me, sorry.
Majority of the people I surround myself with, and I mean, they don't watch the episodes anyways, so it's not like they'll hear me saying this. They don't really have like a drive, or they're not working towards anything in particular. Yeah. I've realized that a lot of my friendships result in like hanging out, base layer conversation, and drinking or smoking.
Yeah.
And like, I want to separate myself from that. I want to meet driven people and have that become my circle, because you are who you hang out with. If you're getting together with someone and instead of just sitting there smoking weed and talking, y'all are both working on something that can progress you further, that seems like a lot more of a valuable friendship to me. And that's what I'm looking for.
The drive, having friends around who have drive, being your age, I think it's totally normal for people when you start doing college parties. Like I remember, like that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to go find girls, drink, smoke weed. Like hell yeah. Like, but to skip that and to just dive into whatever your real passion is, you're like getting so ahead of the game. It's such a perfect advantage point. It's like how I told Marco when he was about your age to get into jiu-jitsu. He didn't until just recently he got into it with me now. And like I just think like getting into something like jiu-jitsu is such a huge ROI for anybody. It builds so much confidence, it builds strength and trusting yourself. And the earlier you get in, the more that personality that it cultivates can leak into everything else you do. So the point is, with you being the age you are, getting into those things you're driven in, building those reps, going into situations that have high ROI while everybody else is just smoking or drinking or doing the fun college life stuff, which was a good experience. Don't get me wrong, I did a lot of that too. But it's giving yourself such a solid advantage, especially if you're trying to be somebody who has an honorary doctorate or whatever you call it.
Yeah, and I also don't really feel like I'm missing anything with those parties, because I mean, I'm sure, as we've kind of talked about throughout the I've already lived that lifestyle.
That's true.
I've lived enough of that lifestyle. Yeah. I'm kind of out of it now.
Yeah.
But like, I will still partake in those things, but usually it's like if my girlfriend's wanting to go to something like that, I'll go.
Yeah.
But
there's plenty of time.
Yeah. Yeah. So much time. And now's not the time.
Now's not the time. Yeah, dude, I would definitely double down, triple down, 10x that shit, bro. You'll never regret. Especially if you feel aligned with it, you'll never regret putting more time into it. But you will regret some of those other nights.
Yeah.
And
a lot of, like, if those things were going to fulfill you, it would only take one time. It's like, that's what I feel like a lot of people kind of look for in that. Not to talk down on it, not to talk down on anyone who partakes in that lifestyle, but I feel like they're searching for fulfillment, like the girls getting fucked up, whatever it may be. And if that thing was going to fulfill you, it would only take that one time, and then you would be fulfilled. If anything, it just left me feeling more empty. Like, it took a while to realize that, but then I got to the point of just like not even feeling like a person anymore. It was like my whole life was consumed by whether it be lust or substances or whatever the case may be. It was like I had no self-control.
Yeah, back to alignment too. Like, I would completely agree. Like, especially if you're like not using moderation and balance with these things, substances, lust, whatever you're talking about here. I would agree that they're going to leave you empty for the most part. But some people have some alignment, and the caveat to that would be like some people don't have like a drive towards creative endeavors or like a drive to like be an entrepreneur. Maybe they just want to have like a decent 9 to 5 and have a family, have a kid, decent house, and that's genuinely like what they really feel in their heart. They're not just deceiving themselves. They're not like settling, but they genuinely like that seems like fulfilling to them. So, and they can drink some beers and they like to get drunk and party every once in a while, but it's not ruining their life. Like, there's a time and a place, there's an alignment, there's a balance is the point. And I don't think that's obviously what you're talking about. And these people who are going out and experiencing college parties and having that fun era, like that's honestly totally valid for certain people. But I think for people like us, not in a better way or a worse way, it's just in an aligned way. What you're saying is you're going to get way more out of what you're saying. And I don't got to, convince you, obviously. But I'm just saying I agree with you for sure. And that was actually a cool concept when I was talking about alignment. So the reason I got into this identity work, I know it's getting late. I don't want to talk forever, but I basically asked ChatGPT, I'm like, be brutally honest with me. Because I just like, look, what are the things that you know about me? Because I would talk to ChatGPT all the time. I still do. I talk to ChatGPT like religiously because I feel I use it like a journal basically. And I just want to like have somebody to mirror me, but I don't want somebody who's just like telling me what I want to hear. So I'm like, you got to be brutal honest. I don't want to be sugarcoating shit. And basically it was like, yeah, you have a superiority complex, this and that. And the reason why a superiority complex is bad is not the reason people think. Like we think it's like moral, like, oh, you think you're better than somebody. But superiority and inferiority, they're the same thing. And it's not a moral problem. It's an energy problem. The more I feel like I'm better or worse than somebody, it creates reactivity to a situation. So if I think I'm better than you at basketball, for example, and you beat me at basketball, I just completely feel like shit. I might spiral. I become super reactive, and it's pulling all this energy because I put such a weight on being better than you. If I just look at it like I'm not better or worse than anybody, I'm just trying to grow through this game of basketball we play. I lose the game. That's just data. It's just a rub. All right, I got to get better here. I got to get better there. And you don't spiral. You just grow from that experience and you play again the next time. And the lack of spiral and reactivity, it's just maybe there's this much more growth from that game. Yeah, you might learn a little bit, even though you lost and you feel like shit and you spiraled, you still learn a little bit, but you'll learn more by not holding that I'm better or I'm worse than you. And the worst goes the same way. You're already setting all these things. That guy's better than me. You could see where that would go in the other way. So by just having this, it doesn't matter who's better or worse. It just matters where I'm at. And it's that whole thing everyone talks about. You're not battling anybody. You're battling who you were yesterday. Yeah. It's the same concept there. So that was really cool to see. And that bled into this identity work and alignment and depths and blah, 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 blah. And so that was really cool experience.
I fell into that like superiority mindset a lot as well, and I feel like a big part of it came from my spirituality at this point in time or previous, and it built upon an ego.
Talk to you about before we could probably wrap it up soon because I got to get home in a little bit if that's all right. But the age gap here, I'm like probably almost 12 years older than you. And I always think about how Gen Z, are you Gen Z? Yeah. How like Gen Z and millennials kind of differ. What do you think is like a common problem that Gen Z deals with today? What's like maybe some differences you see in the generations from like a Gen Z point of view?
I see social media being the main one. I mean, like obviously when you were growing up, social media was starting. So like MySpace was around, start of Snapchat. Yeah. I say this stuff because like my oldest brother, he was like my best friend my whole life. Like even when I was a little kid, he would have me with all of his friends going, which is why I'm able to interact with older people. Majority of all my friends are years older than me. I find it easier to connect with older people than people around my age group just based off of how I was raised, being around his friends and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I see there being a big difference with the consumption of social media and how much ground it holds. Like nowadays, social media is everything to people. Like how your Instagram profile looks, or even just like connecting with people, not being afraid to say certain things because you're not in person. So you're just like a lot of mean and like rude things that a lot of other people wouldn't necessarily have to deal with or have had the chance to, because they weren't
Talking about like keyboard warriors and stuff.
yeah, like shit like that, like just like
Things you can't take back.
cyberbullying, or like whatever the case may be. Like I remember being in elementary school and middle school posting on Instagram, and I would have people in my comment sections being assholes, like kids from school, and that was just throughout like.
But you'd have to see them the next day, right?
Yeah, and then like it would be nothing. Like there would be no interaction there. It was like the interactions were strictly electronic, and
so it was brutal, but there was kind of like a disconnect between internet world and real life.
Yeah, like I remember this one kid, I was like in person, it seemed like we were friends, and then in my comment sections he'd be just bitching me all throughout like middle school or whatever the case may be. And I also see I don't feel as though, and like you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the amount of knowledge that we just have at our fingertips now, like in a lot of majority of news that's pushed is bad news. It's not like they don't push all the positive shit out there. So like just waking up every day, scrolling on your phone, and like you're just seeing negative shit all throughout the day. I mean, like for example, with like, without putting my opinion on this subject whatsoever, but in terms of the Charlie Kirk shit, I think everyone can agree you're not supposed to just see that and then continue on about your day. Like I mean, I was sitting there scrolling Instagram Reels, and then I'm seeing someone bleed out and get shot in the neck. It's like people are not supposed to see something like that and then just go on about their day. Like there's so much different inputs of emotion and things out there that are just at your fingertips and you're just consuming all day. And I feel like that could be a big reason why like mental health is such a problem right now as well.
I also think about touching on the same thing about mental health there is like privacy so far down that everyone's on video. Not that like we have all things to hide or we want to try and like, do bad things that if we're caught on camera, we're going to go to jail for, but like to be constantly like watched, the voyeurism, like, sometimes you do want to fucking get in a bar fight. And like back in the day, people would fight and you'd go on with your day. You weren't worried about getting shot or something or being on camera and not getting the police. Not that you want to get in a bar fight, but you see what I'm saying? Like, I think people were just more relaxed. You could just fuck off and do some like, shit that like, it's not like bad. Maybe it's against the law, but it's not like a big deal. Even underage drinking and stuff. Like I'm not advocating underage drinking. I think drinking and stuff like that, you should wait. If you should be sober, really, it's probably gonna be better for your future. But everyone did it as a kid and stuff like that. And I guess you still don't get in trouble nowadays, even with phones. But I think it's just some sort of a psychological thing of just like always being watched and monitored, even if you're not doing something wrong. And just growing up in that environment, it's like this police state or something that it feels like, and it's like so claustrophobic.
It's like there's like embarrassment already, and now there's a new branch of that, like being embarrassed on social media, and that shit's around forever.
Yeah.
Which is why I think a lot of bar fights or normal fights or whatever the case may be result in one of the people dying, is because you're getting your ass beat, you see someone with a phone recording you, just take out your gun and shoot the motherfucker then. Like that, I see that in like a lot of certain problems because people are afraid of that embarrassment. Like,
or just go harder than you would have to like win the fight, or you think the camera's rolling or something.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like the technology world with AI and everything, I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg really, and things are really going to change a lot. But what do you think about attention span from kids your age?
It's so bad.
Really?
It's so awful. I mean, mine has always been very bad. I have like ADHD and everything like that. Not to like get in too much on that, but I think it's obvious with how much I've been moving around and like scooting and shit. It's the short form content to me that's really fucked that up. Like the instant dopamine rushes or just like scrolling all day every day. Your attention span is sitting there only for video that's 30 seconds. I mean, according to the algorithm, people will only watch TikToks that are around the 30-second mark. Like if I'm posting a podcast clip or a highlight, I try to stick around that 30 to 40-second
and
mark.
your hook,
yeah,
within the first second to a second and a half, they're deciding if they want to keep watching or not.
Yeah, and it's that 30 to 40-second, anything above that doesn't really get a lot of views, and that's because people just scroll away.
I don't really agree with that as much. It really depends, because if it's somebody that you already know, what's that dude who's all over the place, like John Krakauer or whatever, the CIA dude? I've been seeing him everywhere.
Yeah, his
for
videos.
some reason, but like those are long, you'll watch them. So, or like maybe a podcaster that you know, or if it's like something that you already have seen before. But now if it's like a random person, you're basically like, if it's a video but it has like 300,000 likes, you're gonna stay.
Yeah.
But to like reach the threshold, to break through to the threshold of people sticking around is really hard. You need to have like some great hook off the bat, because if you have 2 likes and 100 views, people are just like scroll.
Yeah.
Next.
It's like, oh, this only has 2 likes. Scroll. And I find myself victim to that sometimes too. Like scrolling on TikTok, seeing a video, I'm like, damn, 1 like, scroll.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, because that's just the way it is now. Because I never find new stuff. So there's got to be a group of niche people who just like to find the new content and be like the first comment or something.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, nothing would ever make it besides stuff that's already like broke through. Because I guess once you're well known enough, any of these people you see on TikTok all the time that are kind of circulating through, you know, Speed or Aiden Ross or, you know, those guys obviously have their niche, and, you know, all the, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And, but how do you break into that group when people don't even want to give you the time of day? And then the only way I could think of is a really strong hook, consistency, and slowly building that audience to where finally you get over the hump. But I don't even know if that exists.
I feel like it has to, just because of, I mean, these people like Aiden Ross or Speed really just came out of nowhere. Like same with like Andrew Tate at one point. Like randomly, these people are just in the spotlight, or that clavicular guy that I see a lot right now.
That's
like,
true. Yeah, where the hell did he come from?
Yeah, they just like appear, and then they have the whole spotlight, and it's like I feel like it's that once the community reaches a certain point or it becomes mainstream, that's when it gets to that point. But I mean, even previous, these people had to have had a community.
Well, Clavicular, I seen him on previous streams years ago.
Really?
Yeah, well, from just watching different people's content, like I don't even know who the hell, I can't remember, but like you see him, before he was like look maxing, or whatever he calls it. He was like kind of rounder face and stuff like that on. I don't know whose stream he was on back in the day. I can't even remember who it was, but anyway, yeah. So he, like, it goes back to what we're saying. Maybe there is that like slow audience build, and finally getting that target audience built up enough to where you got enough people tuning in that you finally get enough likes to pass the threshold where mainstream people are liking it, and then you get your video stacking. That's
what I saw with Jinxie as well. Like he was Twitch streaming every single day for like years before he got his spotlight, I guess. And like, I doubt he was streaming to no one, and then randomly all of a sudden.
Well, dude, not to cut you off actually, but my little brother, he started doing this thing. He was trying to like follow, you know how TikTok has like, you know, the TikTok humor, like Gen Z type humor. Well, he was just had this big. We have this golf simulator at my parents' house, and it's just a projector though, so you can put anything on it. So he'd make like a PowerPoint or something, and it would be like funny, like Gen Z humor about like girls, and I don't know. He was like probably 19 or 20 at the time. He got like 10,000 followers. He had like 3 videos that had 2 million views, 1.5 million views. He was going crazy off the rip, like just doing that. And he just didn't want to do it anymore. He's like, this is boring. This isn't good content. And then he just started doing like guitar videos, and now he doesn't get views anymore. I'm like, bro, do you know the gold mine that you were sitting on? Like to be able to get that much traction out the gate, you're getting 10,000 followers, people like not just watching it, but like following you, interacting, just millions of views in like the matter of a month. And then just to like, I just felt like I don't want to do it anymore. I don't know, man. Like just imagine if you just did it anyway, even if it's not like fulfilling content, just to build that base, to get over the threshold we're talking about, to have the snowball effect to anything you want to implement later. Make a slow transition. But I don't know.
Yeah, like a lot of these Twitch streamers, like Aiden Ross or Kai Cenat or whatever, I'm pretty sure they all started like playing 2K, like getting like playing just 2K,
Probably, yeah.
being 2K streamers, and then building upon a foundation of people, and then just branching out from that and going completely crazy with it.
Loss and his dad, is that what his name is? Loss?
Yeah, I think so.
He was just talking about, he's just talking about the other day. He's like, the reason I blew up is because like one day you get VC credits for 2K. Well, he just got the game. I don't know which year it was, but like there's some glitch that was happening. He didn't know how it even happened, and he was just getting like an infinite VC credit glitch. And like he was streaming at the time. He wasn't even like a camera or anything. He was talking about, it was just streaming the game, and all these people were commenting, talking about like, oh, help me get the glitch, help me get the glitch. And he's like, just follow me, I'll show you how to get the glitch. So he had all these people following him. And he's like, that just built up this base so that every time I would stream after that, I'd have like, 3 or 4 people watching at least. For most people, when they start streaming, they have 0. So it gave him like this little cushion only of 4 people, something to like start with, that he was able to build off of to where he is today, where he's famous now.
That's what I would do previously when I was trying to make like gaming videos in middle school or whatever. Is I would play like smaller games or whatever game it was. I would search up on YouTube like glitches or cheats or whatever, and then I'd find one for like a relatively small game.
Yeah,
I'll do it, and then it'd get like thousands of views, because anyone who plays that game, that small little niche game, is gonna search up a glitch, and my video is gonna come up. Then I'd get subscribers, and I'd start posting my own content once I had enough of that. But I never really I was so young, dude. That shit was never gonna go anywhere.
That's funny. You just brought a thought I had the other day. I was troubleshooting this video problem I had, and there's no videos for it on YouTube. And I'm like, man, this would be a perfect video to make a video about, because I would fill that market that's not there. But I'm too lazy for that shit.
Yeah.
I'm not passionate enough in it. I can't get myself to do it. But yeah, that's true too. Like finding out where the holes are and filling it is another huge way. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's sick. I like how I feel like the grind is kind of part of the fun though. Like I'm sitting here now doing all this stuff, and I know that one day I'll look back and be like, that was a good time. Like that was a great time. Whether I succeed with it, whether I don't, it's fun. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Get to meet new people like you. I met my third episode was with this guy named Rob Ramsden, and he told like his life story of being in the system and going to jail and stuff like that. And I was featured on his channel doing like a live stream and everything with him. And he has a buddy named Shane who does music production. I just released that episode like 2 days ago, and I'm meeting up with both of them tomorrow in person. Like we're all getting together for the first time. I've never met them in person before, but those were connections that I've built. We've like texted every single day since then. It's sick. Like it's meeting people, and I feel like due to the conversations being deeper, it promotes like a closeness that like I'm not just gonna talk to these people and never talk to them.
Right.
Again. It's like it's sick. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I completely agree, dude. You read my mind so many times. I feel like in our conversation, I just been like, damn, this kid reminds not just you remind me. Obviously, you remind me of my younger self because we're just I'm so much older than you. But also just in general, like things I went through, but also the person you are reminds me of things I think about. You don't see a lot of people who are more of a depth core type person, like maybe you probably are too. A lot of people are surface level people, which isn't a bad thing. Like you can say maybe like an Aiden Ross, for example. People who are more surface level are good with TikTok trendy stuff or whatever surface level vibes. There's a market there too. You know what I mean? But people like us who like to get a little bit into the deeper stuff, we do build, I think, a deeper connection. Not to be, but. Anyway, yeah, dude, I really appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Of course, to wrap it up, I mean, anything that you're working on that you want to promote? So now's your time to share it, and I'll put everything in the description as well.
Yeah, so I just released a podcast episode with my fiance yesterday. It's about basically the human side of therapy, relationships. My first episode from the podcast just came out a couple weeks ago. I have episode 3, which is going to follow the album trilogy coming out the following week, and more guests and so on and so forth. So that is happening. Obviously, my whole music catalog you can find on Spotify, Apple Music, everything, YouTube. It's like probably 100 songs. I got like 100 videos on YouTube. So just check me out on there if you like the content.
Sounds good. It was great meeting you.
All right, man. Great meeting you too. My guy, dude. That was fun.